Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Trap Chat. We're going to have a tool, an AI tool preview, learning more about a tool called Happlicant. Joining me from, wow, Barcelona. We are international. Is the CEO and founder of Happlicant, which is an ATS and a CRM for recruitment agencies and small recruiting teams. Hi, Chris.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Did I say your name? Okay, this is Chris Allen. I don't think I said your name, right?
I don't know. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
I don't think
Yeah.
I did. I never say my name, so that. But yes, this is Chris Allen, the CEO and founder of Happlicant. Like I said, joining us from beautiful Spain. It is evening there, or early evening there. We got to get him through this before his children come home from daycare, burst through the door, and demand, as they should, his attention.
It's already happened once this week on a demo call. I think it was about 6 o'clock over here. So they had every right to burst through the door, but I could kind of hear that. So I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, right? So you can imagine it's like, as soon as they get home, it's wild.
I always think about that video from the news. Remember where the little girl comes prancing in, everyone fell in love with her, and the mother comes and like drags her out, as the other one that was in the walker drags her out. So yeah. I'm all here for it. I would love for that to happen, but no, we're just gonna move on. How you doing today?
I'm good. Glad it's Friday. It's been a bit of a crazy week, but yeah, nearing the end of my week now, which is awesome. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's been a week, as you would say. The weather here has been much better than it's been. It's been really hot here in Virginia, and like miserably hot, thunderstorms and all that. But this week has been pretty. It's warm, it's hot. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's not like unbearable this week. So that's good.
That's good. Yeah, praying for more of that.
Yes, more of that. But let's jump right in. So we can learn more about Happlicant. Now, it was built specifically for agency and solo recruiters with the explicit promise of cutting out the bloat of legacy platforms. Mm-hmm. What did you see or experience firsthand in agency recruiting that convinced you there was room for something leaner? And what made you decide to build it yourself?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So I think maybe I can start at the very beginning of this journey. So it's about two years ago, so like March 2024, where I was actually made redundant, right? So I was working for a pretty big, billion-dollar company, Vistaprint. I'm sure you've heard of it. Maybe ordered business cards or marketing materials.
I have.
Yeah. So I had a great career there, like 10 years, different like marketing teams, rose up the ladder, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, I was made redundant, and my kind of world got turned upside down. I had a little baby at that point, another one on the way, right? So I was like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? And it was at that point where I was searching for a new job, did tons of interviews, got very close to recruiters, both obviously internal recruiters and agency recruiters, and it was interesting because obviously they were asking me more questions, but the closer I got to them, I'd ask them questions, and one thing led to another, and it was really interesting because at the very beginning, we kind of just tried to soak up as much information as possible and see what pain points were, apparent, and what people were struggling with in general. And it became clear that a lot of people are either and agencies or solo recruiters at the time were either using like no ATS CRM system at all, maybe Excel spreadsheets, or something maybe like one of the bigger, like older players in the market.
We won't name them. I mean, we won't name them.
No naming, but yeah, maybe not super happy, maybe paying a little bit too much, and it wasn't really what they needed. So really just one thing led to another, and obviously You know, I'm not a techie. I'm not a developer myself, but I was extremely lucky to have met Ricard, my CTO and co-founder. And this guy is unbelievable. I've never met anyone quite like him. And we'd known each other for about 8 years at that point, and we'd always wanted to work with each other, but our paths never really crossed in that way. We were good friends. He was doing development projects on the side, and then it was just kind of like the perfect scenario, really. Like, he was looking for a new project. I had a decent idea, or at least at the time, a decent idea, and yeah, let's go for it. Let's try it, see what happens, where it goes. And yeah, thankfully it all worked out in the end.
I love that, you taking your own experience and turning it into this product. So you mentioned agency recruiters and just recruiters in general. Like, they get pitched new software constantly. So asking someone to, rip out their clunky platform, again, we're not going to name them. We all know what they are. That could be a big ask. Now, your reviews, they mention you by name. You're hands-on and you're responsive. How much of earning a recruiter's trust comes down to the product versus you personally showing up? And does that get harder to sustain as you scale?
Yeah, great question. So look, I think it's a mix of the two, right? Like, I don't think you can survive very long without, one or the other. It's really a mix of both of those things. So, we've tried, obviously at the beginning, it was so hard because we didn't have the product, right? For the first year, you're kind of like trying to convince people, it's bare bones, it's real skeleton, but you're going nowhere, right? I maybe spent the first 9 months like just failing, right? Like, having sales calls, you're not quite there, you're missing this feature, you're missing that feature, and that was hard. There were certain moments where I was like, okay, we might need to do something else. But you keep trying, you keep having more conversations with people, you keep understanding, like, is building the features that people are requesting, closing the gap versus competitors. And then eventually you reach a point where it's this sort of point where people are like, okay, I will hand over my hard-earned cash and give you guys a try. And once you reach that moment of validation, it's like, wow, this is incredible. And then one thing leads to another. But you can't just have a great product and no service. So, one of the things that we have done ever since the very beginning, like, I love chatting to as many people as possible. That's like the main way that you can understand how your product is working, right? How your platform is supporting, if it's, good, if it's not good, if you're missing out on, useful stuff. So I've tried to get as close as possible to our customers. So, people still sometimes mention this to me in sales calls, like, Chris, you're the CEO of Happlicant. Like, what are you doing on the sales calls? But, I want to make sure I speak to all of our customers at least once, many times, most of them, because it's the real, it's the way that you learn. It's the way that you gather insights. It's the best way. And I think, if I can provide value, if I can, treat customers not just as, customers, but as partners and help in maybe any way that I can, I think I'm going to be able to, build that strong relationship with them and that's important. Rather than just, sort of faceless organization, we've really tried to, put ourselves out there and, get really, really close to our customers. Mm-hmm.
That's a great segue to my next question, which is about relationships. Recruiting is fundamentally a relationship business, but often the tools recruiters use make them feel more high tech than high touch. How do you think about the relationship between the recruiter and their tools, and how do you build relationships with your users so Happlicant reflects how they work day to day?
Yeah, another great question. I think we're at this point with technology where things are becoming really risky, right? With relationships
Mhm.
in particular. Obviously, you know, everybody knows about the rise of AI, and it is great. It is becoming a fantastic tool, and a tool that if you don't adopt into your day to day, you're going to be left behind, right? But
Mhm.
there's this really horrible notion of, like, you know, marketing that's been thrown around left, right, and center. Like, AI is going to take over recruiters. No way. You know, like, absolutely no. It's horrible to even think that. You know, recruiting is all about the human interactions, and as long as humans are hiring humans, we are going
Yeah.
to need human recruiters, right? Like, no shadow of a doubt. Now, AI will be fantastic in cutting out the things that we don't necessarily want to do, right? Like, automating some communications, you know, maybe moving one candidate from, you know, from one stage to another, or, you know, writing up
Scheduling.
or scheduling. Exactly. Right.
Yes,
So,
writing up. Yes, writing up our notes.
exactly.
Being able to record a conversation and then go back and read it is and like I said, make sure that you're pulling out the key thing. Like that's a game changer, especially for a recruiter that's
Yeah.
busy, that's doing that a lot and is old like me and still takes notes on paper. And then they look back at them after they finish doing 4 interviews in a row and they're like, what?
Yeah. I hope your handwriting is a little bit better than mine, because I actually take notes in my notepad as well. But yeah, it's these use cases that, you know, save us a little bit of time. You know, the tasks that maybe a little bit more mundane, but look, like, you have to get out there in the world. You know, it's all about creating these relationships. Like, go to trade shows, go to conferences, go meet people in person, and build those relationships with people. I feel like a lot of the time I do speak to, you know, recruiters that are looking for like this, you know, magic formula where it's like, I want to send, you know, thousands of emails to people, and yeah, sometimes that works. You know, you might get like 0.001% chance of, you know, getting some work from that, but
Yeah.
it's more so the relationships that you build with people, you know, over years as well. The trust you build, the credibility that you build, and you've got to be so careful, because one wrong move using technology, especially with AI, and that could destroy your credibility, your trust, that you've worked so hard to build. So it's finding the right balance
I love it.
between the two.
Another great segue. Your pitch, and I hesitate to use that word because I think people take a negative connotation to it when they think about marketing. They're like, "Oh, your pitch!" Like I'm automatically trying to sell you something. But like
Yeah.
this, like yours is a good one. You're like, stop paying for features you don't use. Like,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, like that's solid. But you know what happens here, especially in HR tech and in TA tech and building the newest and the most enhanced tool. Um, I think, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a company, especially a software company, can feel pressure to
Mm.
add more. And that's exactly how today's platforms got so ridiculously bloated and over customized. How do you hold yourself accountable to staying simple as you grow? And where do you draw the line on what you're not going to build?
Yeah, thank you for your kind words on, you know, our sort of pitch, or our approach. Look, I think there's a beauty in software feeling simple, right? I mean, if you look at, obviously I'm not comparing ourselves to Apple by any stretch of the imagination, right? But they took something incredibly technologically advanced and they just dominated the market with simplicity, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how can we focus on great user experience, beautiful design, and have like the technology almost feel like a secondary, you know,
Mm.
in marketing. And you know, I try and think about that all the time. It's not necessarily like you want to it's great like having every single feature under the sun, but if it's too bloated and it's really difficult to use and you have to click 1,000 oops did you hear that, Kristen?
As you said, and you have to click 1,000, but you saw me like, oh, you froze for like a second, just one.
Yeah, just saying, like, if you have to click like 1,000 buttons to where you want to get to, then what's the point, right? Like people want easy to use software. Software should feel like it's not a hindrance. It's not something that you dread using. Like, it's supposed to help you. It's supposed to sit in the background, right? It's supposed to facilitate you and make you more efficient. So I think it's a constant battle between, what do we say no to and what do we take on? But, ever since day one, we've just been very, very clear on one thing, and that is, like, how do we make the most powerful system, but make it feel so easy to use, so simple to use. And that's kind of been our philosophy. But look, like, we've had to make some tough decisions. At the beginning, people were saying to us, look, Chris, we really want you to build out assessments in Happlicant. Chris, we really want you to build out this whole like a temporary like staffing solution. And that's like, that would have taken a ton of work. And we just decided, look, this market is big enough, for a system that has, that services a real niche. We have said no to a lot of things over the years, and we'll continue to say no to things, but continue to have this philosophy where we just want to make it feel seamless, easy, and that you've got like powerful system behind you, but you don't necessarily have to deal with all of the clunkiness, if you will.
Yeah. No, that's what you just said is key. As someone who's worked enterprise, someone who's worked as a third-party recruiter, and then someone who's worked as a supplemental surge, single solo recruiter looking for, a specific type of person for a specific type of industry. The fact that you are honed in on who your customer base is and you are serving their needs is, like, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm not blowing steam up your, can we say that over here? I'm not blowing smoke. That's a better way to say that. I know it's Friday, but we're not going to be that casual today.
Like, well, that's a Saturday thing, right?
Yeah. So we're, like that makes a huge difference, because some of these bigger tools, the ones that we do complain about, the ones that are bloated, like some of them are designed for a certain type of company, for someone that has 10,000 employees across an array of job skills, across an array of locations. And that's not the same recruiting model. That's not the same need as like you serve, smaller recruiters, agency recruiters in smaller markets or in, again, niche fields, and solo recruiters like me who just need a tool. Like, we don't need, like, if I'm just going to the store, I don't need to drive a minivan.
Right. Exactly. Or
a truck. Like if I'm just making a quick run, like, I don't need a minivan. If I'm driving on vacation, maybe, but I'm not driving on vacation, so I don't need your minivan. I just need a car. Like, just give me the car. So I love that. I love your approach. Like, it's missing in a lot of these tools. Like, I'm just going to be honest. And even the ones that say they're really just a different cover on a tool that is already existing.
Yeah, no, I agree, and thank you. It's actually really interesting because we started with like just really aiming at agencies and solo recruiters, as you mentioned, but we've seen over the past, I don't know, maybe 6-7 months, an uptick in internal recruitment teams using which is really strange. Like, I wasn't expecting this at all. And even like, we recently had this opportunity with a multi-billion-dollar company. It's still early days, right? But I think it might not, like, this sort of approach might not just be fitting for solo recruiters and sort of agencies. It also seems to be attractive, like internal recruitment teams, maybe smaller recruitment teams potentially, but like just easy systems, simple A to B.
Yes, because they want an ATS and a CRM. They can, like, especially the bigger companies, they can add the other tools.
Yeah,
like they can add those, but what they need is an ATS that does what an ATS was designed to do, not what these other things, which are available as well, were designed to do. So I love that. I love that for you. All right. Last question in the business side of things. Okay. We've talked about AI a lot. It's already reshaping how recruiters source, how they parse, how they format, how they assess, how they make decisions. That's not my favorite, but here we are. Some of that is baked into Happlicant already, the sourcing, the parsing, the formatting. What shift in agency recruiting do you think most recruiters aren't preparing for yet? And how are you trying to stay proactive so the platform is ahead of the curve instead of chasing it?
To be completely honest, I have no idea where like the AI world is going. and I look, I'll hold my hands up. I think we are going to see obviously more and more good use cases for AI, and as you mentioned, we've got different AI systems in place on our platform to help recruiters go about like the sort of admin tasks, or the everyday tasks that they don't want to do, like reformatting resumes, passing resume, these kinds of things. But again, I go back to what I was saying earlier, we just need to be very, very careful, because as soon as that kind of takes over, if you give it too much power, I think it's where it becomes a little bit risky. So I mean, we're preparing, right now we're preparing for like native integrations on our platform with AI models. So with the rise of agentic AI, there will be opportunities for people to connect through MCP.
Okay.
So we're really excited about this, and I think this could really help recruiters just get rid of most of the admin stuff and just really focus on the things that matter, like as we mentioned earlier, building these relationships both with candidates and clients if you're on the agency side. So I think as we progress, more and more time will be spent doing the things that really move the needle, and less time will be spent on the sort of mundane, tedious tasks that really AI agents can take over for you. So yeah, I'd say that's probably where I believe we're heading, but who knows? Like, we might get some crazy development in AI that, who knows?
All right. Well, I want to give you an opportunity to tell folks how they can get in touch with you and get a demo. We're going to do that at the end of the show, because it is time for the rapid fire. But just know that there is going to be an opportunity for you to share how folks can get in touch with you, how they can see more and actually see Happlicant if they're a visual learner like me. We've learned a lot about what you do, why you do it, who you do it for. So that's good. So that should get people to give you a call and say, hey, let me see it for myself. And is this the right tool for me? But right now, we're going to do the rapid fire. My favorite part of the show.
Yeah, sounds fun.
All right. Who is a well-known or lesser-known historical or contemporary figure who inspires you and we should learn more about?
Oh, great question. I would say I'm quite inspired by James Dyson. I think that's kind of like maybe somebody who has sort of inspired me a little bit, because I mean, like he had to go through like 5,000 like failed prototypes before he reached his sort of like perfect vacuum cleaner. It just somehow like reassures me that, you know, despite all of the sort of hiccups along your journey, you know, it's not necessarily about like that, the end, right? It's about the journey, how you get there.
Okay.
Yeah, another guy that I've been listening to, maybe less well known, Rory Sutherland. I've been sort of listening to a lot of his podcasts, and
Okay.
I recommend people, you know, look at his stuff, because he's like come from the advertising space, but he has a really interesting, like, creative way of like framing problems, you know, and I've found him to be really, really interesting.
Okay, I have to check that out. What is the best piece of career advice you've received you would give to your early career self?
Ooh, for sure, like, busy work doesn't always mean important work, right? Because I feel like sometimes we have this feeling of being busy, you know, busy as in like I'm doing lots of stuff, like, you know, I'm making progress, but that's not necessarily from, you know, years of kind of like experience, you know, it's not necessarily what moves the needle, right? So I think it's, you know, you might be busy, but are you doing the work that really matters?
I love it. If you wrote a book describing your career so far, what would the title be?
Oof. I don't know. Just go for it. I don't know.
Oh,
Give it a try. Yeah.
give it a try. I like that. Okay. I already have my ideas. As you know, I always try and send you my answer through the send my answer. What fictional character gives you a glimpse of yourself?
Wow. Probably I'm gonna go with like the underdog theme, maybe like a Frodo Baggins, or
I was so off.
Damn it.
I sent you Tony Stark.
Tony Stark? I'll take that. I would take
like that. Inventor, you know, like
you
said, especially like you said, Dyson. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's on the inventor, like innovator side. Like Marvel. Okay. Frodo Baggins. Why Frodo?
Must have got lost over the Atlantic somewhere.
There you go. Why Frodo?
I think it's kind of like the underdog theme, you know, like you know, I still feel like Happlicant is kind of like the underdog in this space. There's these huge players out there, you know, and we're still like making a name for ourselves, and, you know, maybe that sort of fictional character would work.
Okay. What is your go-to songs, or music genre when you want to hype yourself up to conquer the day?
Oof. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually into kind of rock music. If I really need a kick, I'll probably go for some sort of like heavy metal, maybe.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised by that. But yeah, I'm a big sort of like classic rock fan. I actually know nothing about like modern day music, really. I'm still stuck in like the 80s, 90s type music.
Nothing wrong with that. That was a good time for music.
It was.
All right. What is your favorite empowering quote?
I would say something like, I don't know, I'm kind of rubbish with remembering quotes, to be honest, but I kind of like, you know, the idea of like taking more risks, because at the end of the day, like, you know, people on their deathbed, they never like look back at their life and say, I wish I'd taken fewer risks. I mean, you know, like, it's more the opposite, right? I wonder what would have happened if I'd done this, or just gone for it, just given it a try. So, you know, maybe something like that, like, you know, because at the beginning of Happlicant, right, so many people said to me, don't do it. Like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You know, you're not coming from the recruitment space. Like, it's going to crash and burn. So, you know, luckily I just kind of, you know, didn't pay attention to those guys, and just kept grinding, kept on cracking away, improving every single day. And
good.
Lucky that happened. But yeah, just take a risk, go for it.
All right. What is one thing you want people to take away from our conversation today?
I would say, look, like maybe be careful out there. If you're a recruiter and you're sort of looking at different tools, I would say be careful because there are some really good marketers in this space, right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll tell you things that are, our tool is going to completely revolutionize your workflow, or this whole new like flashy end-to-end AI tool. And sometimes we get like distracted by shiny objects. And I've just spoken to so many people who have been burned by these things. So kind of do your research. Don't just sort of like jump at the sort of shiny object. And yeah, that's probably what I would say.
That is great advice. And before I let you go, what are some upcoming projects or initiatives we should be on the lookout for? And then also, please let folks know where they can go to schedule a demo or learn more about Happlicant.
Yeah, sure. So really, really exciting stuff coming. We are really focused on automations, really focused on, like email sequencing. The second half of this year, we're doing a lot on integrations. I mentioned MCP already, but things like, omni-channel communication all within your ATS, whether it's LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever sort of channel you're communicating with, like candidates or your sort of leads or clients in, you'll be able to track that all through the system. Yeah, just sort of like fun things like that. I think we've got most of the stuff that we need. Job boards as well. We're focusing on job board integrations is a big one.
Okay.
So that's within the next couple of months as well. So yeah, exciting times.
And where can they get in touch with you to schedule a demo and learn more about Happlicant?
Yeah, so you can go to happlicant.com and you'll see there's a book a demo call. As I said earlier, like I try and do all of the sales calls, and I'll be there for the demo, walk you through the platform. You could also do a free trial if you wanted. So we have the option to do a free trial. So if you wanted to check it out and have a little poke around, you can do that as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday, out of your day to chat with me and to share all of the great things you're doing at Happlicant. And thank all of you for watching. Make sure you get in touch with Chris. I will include the information on going to Happlicant and getting all the information you need in the comments or whatever. And we'll see you on another episode of Trap Chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.